welcome back to another episode of Change Wired podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host. I'm your executive master health coach 360, partner in personal and collective transformation, and just someone who is really passionate about learning how to unlock more of our potential every day in our life, in our business, in our relationships, so we could create the most extraordinary lives and more positive impact in the world. And today, guys, I am very excited because it is another episode with an amazing, awesome, fascinating guest who I was blown away by, to be honest. What if the secret to running 2 menswear boutiques, great thriving business in 2 cities in South Africa for 20 years wasn't hustle, but it was clarity? Today's guest is Willem Venter, founder of ZEDMEN, premium custom menswear with boutiques in Cape Town and Johannesburg. And here's the secret. Willem did not build a 20-year business by grinding himself into the ground. He built it by treating his own life like a business, with a plan, a schedule, and zero tolerance for skipping the fundamentals. In this conversation, we get into why Willem trains almost every single day and why it's never felt like a chore, the 4-part framework Willem has used for over 15 years to keep business, health, relationship, and mindset all moving toward together. What Willem actually does when his business gets stressful, a mental tool borrowed from race car driving that keeps Willem from spinning out of control. And the one habit, writing your life like a script, painting it like a picture, that Willem says turned or was a secret to his long-lasting, growing and thriving success. If you are an entrepreneur juggling growth, personal well-being, energy, personal and professional life, and everything in between, and wondering how to sustain it for the long haul, not just the next quarter, this one is for you. Here's my conversation with Willem Venter. Tell me first, Willem, about what's on your plate. What does your lifestyle look like in terms of when you work, how much you work, when you take care of other things, I don't know, family, personal stuff. What does it look like day to day for you?
Life is busy for everyone. And unless you prioritize certain things, they're not going to happen. Because as you know, when you're busy, you can it's Monday, the week flies, and it's Friday, and it's so unless you actually prioritize and you put it in the diary, I'm referring to training, I'm referring to family, because sometimes people only focus on one thing and then they drop the ball on other things. I read a book once called The Eighth Habit by Stephen Covey, and it's got 5 intelligences. Your SQ, your spiritual intelligence, your IQ, which is your brain, your EQ, which is your heart, which is your relationships, and then your PQ, which is your physical intelligence. And he drew like a parallel to a business and a person, but I find that it's crucial to have that balance. So first of all, I make a point of training, but secondly, I love training. So I do train that I love. So, and actually, like for example, today I'm working from home in Joburg, but I've got a 5:30 someone that's going to meet me at the place that I train, and we're going to go train. And I'm super excited. I can't wait for it. So training is not like a chore. It's something that's part of my lifestyle personally, and it's also something that you have to schedule and make time for. Because if you don't, first of all, it's not going to happen, and without a doubt, your physiology, how you feel, affects your psychology. In other words, your mood or effectiveness, on what level you operate, your energy levels, and almost more importantly, in the long run, your health. Because you don't look after that now, then one day your health is your wealth. So that's that I prioritize. And then, of course, family. So what I do is I live in between Cape Town and Joburg. So when I'm in Joburg, I train at night, mostly a few times a week when I'm here, love it. And when I'm in Cape Town, I train in the mornings because night time's with the family. So trying to keep that balance, not trying to keep it. Keeping it is actually crucial.
Mm-hmm. And we're always like this, like sort of aware of the training that it's needed and prioritizing it, scheduling it, and also like knowing that you gotta enjoy it in order to make it sustainable and make it last.
I think I'm just lucky like that, because ever since being a kid, when I was very, very small, it was skateboarding,
Mm,
and I was very competitive, and then it went to surfing, and then it went to fighting, and that stuck. So I'm very fortunate that I just love training. So it's
mm-hmm.
not like, not admin. It's not like, oh, I've got to go train. It's
Yeah.
something that I've always been lucky that I just really, really have a passion for, and I love doing.
Mm-hmm. Anything else that you prioritize besides fitness? Might be sleep, might be nutrition, some self-care longevity protocols, like, I don't know, getting into nature. Well, what are some other things?
Absolutely. Sleep for me is crucial. Now, luckily, I sleep like a baby. I'm very, very blessed there. So that I don't have to work on that too much. But I actually really, 7 hours at least per
Mm-hmm.
night I sleep, because, and even when I travel, I don't fly first thing in the morning. I'll fly at 9 o'clock, land at 11 o'clock, whether it's to Cape Town or to Joburg, and I do
Mm-hmm.
my best work on the plane. So sleep is an absolute priority. Secondly, nutrition, without a doubt, and regular checkups, because as you get a bit older, and you
Mm-hmm.
won't know yet, but as you get older, you've got to look after your health. And like I said earlier, your health is your wealth. So it's
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to, and I'm very fortunate because I see my clients who are older
Mm-hmm.
and they're in great shape and they're still going strong and they've got a lot of energy. So I think to myself, geez, like if I'm that age, that's a long way to go. If I've got that amount of energy, there's still a lot of life that's ahead of me. So yeah, sleep, making sure that I do things that I enjoy, crucial,
Mm-hmm.
and just after, looking after myself is a non-negotiable, basically.
Mm-hmm. Are there any specific things that you spend your income on in terms of your health, whether that's supplements, gadgets, certain therapies, any things of that sort?
So good, actually, interesting question. So I drink all the vitamins, the B, C, omega, all of those things, magnesium, and but I actually spend quite good. Actually, now that you ask, I actually spend quite a bit on my gyms. So
Mm,
there's a part of Virgin Active, of course, the what the premium one, whatever it's called. I like it because I don't have to take a towel. So
mhm,
so I spend on that. But then I also I'm a member at two different other it's fight clubs, one in Cape Town, one in Joburg, and I
mhm.
every month pay with a smile, because for me, first of all, it's not just for my health and wellness; it's also for my happiness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll say I spend on that. Other than that, not really too much. Eating is a priority for me. I eat very well, so that also fits into that category. So
Mhm.
that's what I spend my wellness funds on.
In terms of nutrition, curious, how do you make sure that you get the right kind of meals? You travel, obviously, you spend your time in two cities, and as I understand, family is not, in every city. So how do you make sure that you get what you want?
Yeah, so you speaking to someone that loves eating meat. So quite a steak eater, and I've got my
Uh-huh.
absolute routine. I don't think anyone eats as much meat as what I do. So when I get to Joburg, first thing I do, I make a whole bunch of steaks and noodles and salad, and there it is, ready to go. And in general also, I make sure that my lunches are, I'm very fortunate. My missus makes very nice lunch in Cape Town, and it's always packed away and it's got
Mhm,
the right amount of protein and everything in it. Same over here. This is where planning comes in.
mhm.
Because it's very important. If you don't plan these things, like you don't plan training, you don't plan
Yeah.
sleeping, you don't plan personal development, then,
Mhm,
and there's a saying, how you do something is how you do everything. Because if
mhm.
you're not going to look after these things, then you're not going to look after the things in your business. If you're not
Yeah.
going to look after the things in your business, you're not going to look after the things in your personal life.
Yeah.
So everything is equally important. Your SQ, your IQ, your EQ, everything
Yeah.
is crucial, and I need to actually do something about it. Because if you like in that book, it was quite interesting how Dr. Stephen Covey said
Yeah.
that it's like legs on a table. If something you can have a lot of money but you're unhealthy, what does it mean? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going to go. You can be very healthy and have no money. There's also something wrong because you got
Mm-hmm.
to change. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You can have a lot of money, be very healthy, and have no relationships. There's something wrong. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
our too, I know we started with food, but it's all the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get things in place. Thankfully, in Joburg, I've got my lovely lady, Bongi. She makes the meals in the freezer. When I get to Joburg, all I have to do is take it out and it's ready to roll.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's all about, I guess, knowing what you want out of life,
Yeah.
and then actually writing the script. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Plan accordingly so that everything is there and it falls into place, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can have that healthy, wealthy, happy life that you working towards
Yes.
as a person.
Well, it sounds like, you have so much self-awareness and intention about all of those things.
That's
Um, is it something that you purposefully worked at some point? Like, when did it happen that you created this beautiful system to make sure that all of the areas of your life are covered? What was it? How did you do it? Like, besides reading the book? Was there many? Also, I'm curious, like, was there any specific event where you like, okay, I need to do this work. I need to figure it out.
Interestingly enough, I must say that book actually played a big part. So I always used to be like that. I've always been healthy and always been very driven. Even when I was a little kid and I had to win the skateboarding competitions, that's just who you are as a person. And then something that I started that I started doing that really stuck. And actually, this happened when I started working almost 30 years ago.
Hmm.
I fell in love with personal development and reading books within the interest that I had at that point. So, like when I started 30 years ago, there was a big focus on sales, and then you get to know how that works. And then after that, it evolves to other things, to becoming more effective, time management, personal development. And
Hmm.
that's when that book actually just sort of, that's why reading is so important. Reading podcasts like what you do, your coaching is so crucial, because if you don't know, you don't know,
Hmm.
and you've been doing something sort of in that line, but now it's something that you've got more clarity around. So when
Yeah.
I read that Eighth Habit, then I realized, that your spiritual intelligence is crucial. Your
Hmm.
relationship with your maker, then your IQ is
Hmm.
crucial. Your heart, your EQ, and then your
Hmm.
physically. But then it's a matter of, what are you actually doing about it? Are you
Hmm.
doing something within that program? Because remember, it's Monday, then it's Sunday, then it's Monday, then it's
Yeah.
Sunday. Within that 7 day sort of cycle, have you actually got things in place to make sure that you're working on each of the different intelligences, if you know
Hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if not, then change. So I'd say I've always been like that, but that's
Hmm.
why when you learn new things, you just maybe do them a little bit better, a little bit with, like, we all know the answers, but until you hear it and you see it and you maybe re-hear it, then it's
Hmm.
sort of, then the whole light bulb goes on and you actually do something about it.
Yes. Well, how long ago was it that you read that book and which made such a huge
Sure,
difference?
that's, no, I can tell you. It's going to be a wild guess, but I'm almost going to say 15 years ago,
Hmm.
maybe longer. Oh, so long ago, quite long ago,
Yeah.
at least
Um,
15 years ago.
it sounds like though that you've always been, as you said, driven, curious, into self-development.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's how you sort of found your way to all of these tools and strategies and like methodologies. Is there any other way that well, besides reading what I heard from you, what are some other way perhaps that you learn or that you source your information from different, I don't know, sources? Like, I'm looking for specifics, podcasts that you listen to, people you follow, YouTube channels, yeah, something that you read.
I'm such a YouTube guy. YouTube virtually every day. Absolutely love it. So YouTube, I'd say mainly YouTube and reading.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my two sources of information.
Mm-hmm. And
Yes.
again, any specific authors that you can name besides Covey,
Mm,
or personalities that you follow on YouTube that you always try to watch something from?
absolutely. So first, before the authors, I'll rather say the topics.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the main topics I always say to everyone they must become a master at. First of all, is goal setting and achieving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, goal setting and achieving, and then things like the law of attraction falls into place. Because then you understand how it works. So the one thing is goal setting and achieving. The second one
Mm-hmm.
is definitely the law of
Mm-hmm.
attraction and
Mm-hmm.
how to work it and how it
Mm-hmm.
works. Then effectiveness is crucial as well. If you go with those three to start with, that's just a good. It depends what your industry is. Of course, then there are a lot of different sort of routes that you can pull in from there. Authors that I'll definitely recommend: Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow
Mm-hmm.
Rich, with regards to goal setting and achieving. And that actually ties in perfectly with the law of attraction, because
Mm-hmm.
if you read and study that book, then you'll see where the law of attraction comes from.
Mm-hmm.
It was written hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but that is where it comes from. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, absolutely brilliant. There's another book called The Source by Dr. Tara Schwartz.
Mm-hmm.
Schwartz, absolutely brilliant. It's got to do with neuroscience, but at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, all of this has got to do with neuroscience.
Mm-hmm.
How does your brain work? The Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's brilliant. So it's all along the same sort of lines, and that's got to do with goal setting and achieving. There's a gentleman by the name of Brian Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Anything that comes out of his mouth, even if it's from many, many years ago, he's quite old now,
Mm-hmm.
but he's an absolute genius, brilliant to listen to. You've got Tony Robbins, who's
Mm-hmm.
excellent still today. Who else is there? That's got to do with things like goal setting and achieving and effectiveness and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Then when it comes to leadership, Simon Sinek,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely fantastic. Effectiveness again, I'll go back to Brian Tracy. He wrote a book called lots of books, but the one book, it's a thin little book, changed my life, called Time Management.
Mm-hmm.
I work every single day. Then he's got another book called Eat That Frog.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant, absolutely genius. So that I'd say is when it comes to time management. What else is there? I think that covers quite a broad spectrum.
No, it's
I just Personal development is key, and if you know how to set goals and work towards it, then that becomes your driving force, and also that becomes like a fun thing you do every day,
mm-hmm.
because there's a saying, progress equals happiness. And
Mm-hmm.
as you grow, and if you're in business, it's not only you that grows, it's your team, your teams, your business, and it's exciting.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you so much for it's just so much goodness and things to learn from and look into. You mentioned again quite a few areas like goal setting, achieving, law of attraction, effectiveness. Another area that I want to touch upon, and let me know if you work on that or use any tools in that, is resilience to stress and going through challenges and managing your mindset and emotions. Is it any is it something that you are like intentionally work on or manage? And if yes, so how?
Oh, you have to if you're in business, because as your turnover grows, so do your bills. So if you look at people like Richard Branson, in the beginning days, I mean, he's at a rough ride. It's not just,
Mm-hmm.
wow, look at the guy now. If you look at Phil Knight from Nike,
Mm-hmm.
he also, I mean, as he grew and grew and grew and grew, at some point his business almost didn't make it because they didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
cash flow to fund what they bought. There's so many different stories like that. You have to consciously be aware that stress is a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and especially underlying stress. You know what I mean? And the best way I'd say to handle that, get sleep,
Mm-hmm.
keep healthy. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes when the going gets rough, you take a step back, take a few steps back. Just Stephen Covey actually said with his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the seventh habit is sharpen the saw. So if you really like tired and it's stressful and you can't figure out what to do and things get a bit much, just sharpen the saw. It's like sawing down a tree, but the blade is blunt. And
Mm-hmm.
the harder you try, the only thing is happening, you're just getting more tired and burnt out. So what you
Mm-hmm.
do is you sharpen the saw, and it's like this, it's chuff chuff, and it's off. You know what I'm saying? So managing your energy levels, focusing on what you want and not
Mm-hmm.
what you don't want, because what people do when things get a bit rough, what is his name? Jim Rohn used to
Mm-hmm.
say, also a good guy from long ago, also brilliant. He used to say, when it's summer, think winter. So in
Mm-hmm.
other words, when it's going well, think winter's coming. But also when it's winter, think summer. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not always going to go bad. Because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
what happens is when things get a little bit hot in the kitchen, man, it's all the people focus on. It's like, man, oh yes, and oh, how am I gonna they
Mm-hmm.
don't focus on, and actually, funny enough, Tony Robbins had this analogy. He said, as a racing driver, he learned something. Someone took him on a racing
Mm-hmm.
whatever, if you heard it, and suddenly the car started spinning, and the co-pilot, who's the coach or the whatever, he said to Tony, don't look at the wall, look at the track, because
Yeah.
wherever you your focus goes, your energy flows, so in
Mm-hmm.
other words, if you look at the wall, you're going to hit the wall, but
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the track, there's a big chance that you're going to end up back on that track. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the same as when things get a bit rough. Make sure you're fresh, make sure you go have a workout, eat healthy, get some good sleep, and sometimes you wake up with new idea, fresh ideas, and that's what gets you back onto the track, not against the wall.
Mm-hmm. So I guess what I'm hearing is, yeah, when it gets tough, take care of yourself.
Key.
That, yeah, what you mean sharpening the saw, and then control your focus. So it sort of helps you to get the best out of yourselves versus just, focusing on the obstacles and getting maybe
Absolutely.
into that obstacle.
Because you're just going to see and get more of it. The law of attraction is definitely a thing. The more you focus on what you don't want, trust me, the more of that you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, vice
Nice.
versa.
Yes. Is there anything else that you consider sort of very essential in terms of taking care of yourself, making sure that you thrive, that you last while working on your goals and going through, a lot of challenging stuff in life?
You know what? I think it's just going back to basically writing your script.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, first and foremost is knowing where you want to be one
Mm-hmm.
day, and it's what by when. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes if there's not a by when, then there's like, yeah, I'm gonna go train tomorrow, or no, you
Mm-hmm.
know what, on Monday or the diet's gonna start then. That's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Success, there's a saying, it's a known fact. Successful people are known to act on new ideas, new things, even sort of a new inspiration. So someone might listen to this and someone might think, oh, they need to go train, or they need to, or there's in the different intelligences, there is maybe that phone call of that family member that they should actually make, but
Mm-hmm.
next time. So basically, I'd say what I personally think is the secret to success, personally, financially, and on all levels, is to have a clear picture in your mind of what you want in all areas. Be
Mm-hmm.
it finances, be it relationships, be it your health, be it anything. Be even with regards to planning a holiday. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Just it doesn't even have to be a reality. Literally just draw a little picture, create a vision board,
Mm-hmm.
save it on your phone, whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Write notebook, whatever works for you as a person. Personally, I like pictures, on my
Mm-hmm.
phone, folder that you can see the holiday, you can see the monetary
Mm-hmm.
amount, you can see the family, you can see whatever you want, what you want as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say to yourself, what will that look like if it was perfect?
Yeah.
And you write down all those goals, all those different things. And then slowly but surely, you just tick them off one by one, because then you'll start working towards that. Does it make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yes, it's
Be it,
100%.
be it business, be it your personal life, be it something that you want to achieve one day. The question is, you maybe not there yet, but if you know
Yeah.
what you want to achieve in 2 years' time and you start working on it every day now already, you'll be
Yeah.
surprised. It probably won't even take 2 years.
Yeah.
It'll be sooner than that, but almost more importantly, like I say, progress equals happiness. So as you
Mm-hmm.
go on this journey, it's a fun journey, and every day is look, every day is not easy, but if you stick through it, eventually it gains momentum, and that 2 years suddenly becomes 1 year, and then you realize, goodness, I'm capable of this. It's actually up the game a bit.
Yeah. Well, well, thank you, Willem, so much for this interview. Yeah, I learned so much, and it's there are so many like nuggets of wisdom, very practical. So I really appreciate your time and sharing all of this.
It's a pleasure.
Uh,
Thank you, Angela. Really appreciate it, and keep up the good work.
you too. Yeah, thank you so much, Willem. Have a good rest of the
Pleasure,
day.
pleasure.